You've hustled through highs and survived all the lows, counting your worth by how fast money flows. You've tried every spreadsheet, spell, and plan, yet it slips through your fingers like ocean sand. Some months you're thriving, some months you freeze. Your nervous system begging, can we please just have peace? It's not about failure, it's about fatigue. You've outgrown the rush, the chase, the intrigue. The roller coaster's lost its shine. You're ready to move with your own design. Something inside you is shifting slow, a quiet knowing it's time to let go. You're ready to tend what you used to outrun, to move with money like it's already done. So if you've been waiting for a sign to begin, this is your moment. Let's drop in. If you've ever found yourself avoiding your bank accounts or wondering why, no matter how much you make, it never feels like enough, this one's for you. There's a difference between knowing you should do something about money and being ready to. You've probably known for a long time, so then why haven't you done anything about it? Readiness isn't something you can force. It's a kind of maturity. It's often a Saturn moment, and it comes the moment you stop wishing it would change and decide to take your seat at the table with it, to assume your agency, and to actually do something about it. In today's episode, we're naming the 5 signs that show you're ready to reset your relationship with money, not from shame or shoulds or force, but from self trust and an inner knowing that the time has come. And I'll share my own turning point that helped me realize I was ready to, back when I was a single tax preparer before I became a second Saturn cycle mama. Here's what we'll dive into in this episode: the hidden reason you avoid looking at your numbers and what it's really protecting, how reactive action keeps you stuck in survival, and how one grounded move can change everything, what it means to reach money maturity, and why Saturn's timing always lands right on time, the quiet trap of just enough and how to expand beyond it without burnout, and what it feels like to move from money as chaos to money as relationship, steady, mutual, alive. I said it already and I'll say it again. Readiness is not about willpower. It's not a forcing. It's about a readiness more like a ripeness. The same way that Saturn returns at about 30 and about 60 mark seasons of maturity that just ripen, it becomes time for them. We reach a point in our money story where the old structure just doesn't work anymore. The patterns that used to work and even feel right and feel like we're doing something right and we're winning, things just shift when Saturn comes around. We start to see things differently, and what made sense for our past selves no longer makes sense for our current selves, and our future self can feel that. That's the moment of readiness. It's when the avoidance, the things that you've been avoiding, because they just weren't time yet, maybe, become heavier than the awareness that first creeps in, then starts to bang on the door to try and get your attention. Let's look at the 5 signs that may indicate your next chapter with money is already calling you. The first sign is that you avoid looking at your accounts. The pattern is probably familiar and looks something like, you should check your numbers. You can't stop thinking about it. It's bugging and bothering you, and it feels loud and important, but something in your body just says nope. I'm also going to bet that if this is a pattern that you're stuck in, it's not laziness that keeps you from looking at your accounts. We have our online banking in our phone. It would take the same amount of effort to go look at your account as it takes to get into a doom scroll. So you're not being lazy, you're protecting yourself from something or something that you think you need protecting from. It's probably unconscious, but that's likely what's really happening, because avoidance is how your nervous system tries to keep you safe from feelings that you don't want to feel, like shame or fear or overwhelm, maybe inadequacy, which probably is coupled with shame around not really knowing what you should be doing to tend your money. The truth actually is that safety built on avoidance keeps you stuck in reactivity. So it's like you kind of feel safe because you feel far enough away from it that those looming feelings don't feel like a threat, but you actually fall prey to getting thrown reactively into those emotions because you are not intentionally and mindfully facing those spaces that, if you tended them in a chill way in real time, would actually protect you from or distance you from those feelings that you don't want to feel. They would be a non-issue. That said, I want to offer the reframe that getting honest, whether it's with whatever the pattern has been, the pattern of avoidance, or those feelings that actually exist there for you, it's not about judgment to realize that that might be where you are with money. It's about grounding yourself into the reality of what is, of where you are right now, of your present moment and situation. The truth is, if you are not willing or able to look at where you are right now, you're not actually going to be able to get anywhere you want to go. Instead, distancing yourself from where you don't want to be is actually just going to keep you stuck there. Not a fun paradox. The energy of your moon is actually a really good one to look toward for this, because your moon code has keys and clues for you of how you're able to face what's real, to look and feel below the surface, to what feelings are actually there for you so that you can see it, own it, accept it, ground into it, and ultimately move through it in a process that is akin to regulation. Our moon shows us how we're able to regulate through those cycles and processes of the emotional body. I have the example for myself back in my tax days. There was a time when the way I was with money felt truly successful. I was always able to buy what I wanted when I wanted it, when I needed it. I was able to move things around to make things happen as needed. However, I was actually stuck in a cycle where I was never getting ahead. I was never building toward any kind of goals or a future. And I was basically going into debt in the slow seasons and then paying it off and resetting to zero during each seasonal cash injection. And look, I knew on some level that that's what was happening, but there was also some pretty real avoidance happening of really looking at that pattern and the kinds of decisions and behaviors that supported it and entrenched it, coming to terms eventually with that I knew I could do so much better, and that is not how I wanted to be with money. The thing is, you can't redirect what you won't acknowledge as it is right now. Honesty brings calm to the equation so much faster than avoidance ever will, even though it might seem to be the thing that will keep you from what you don't want to feel or see. Sign 2, you keep taking reactive action instead of strategic action. The pattern here is that when things get tight, you scramble, you start moving things around, right? I told you that was part of my story before I consciously switched things up. On the other side, when things are good, you spend freely, you live it up, right? Which often ends up setting you up to then suffer on the other side of it and not have enough. Things get tight and you scramble again. And it feels like you're always either chasing or catching up, some version of this. The truth is that reactivity is a trauma pattern that for many is disguised as productivity. This was truly how I saw it in my tax preparer days. What happens is it gives you the illusion of control without actually creating stability. I felt like I had it all under control, but it was completely unstable. And all it would have taken is one expected cash infusion not to come through, and the whole thing, like a house of cards, would have come falling down. The reframe that I want to offer you is using the wisdom of Mars energy. What Mars has to teach us as a reflection about aligned action taking, which is decisive and aligned. This is where one grounded action can break that loop of reactivity, that entrenched cycle, and start the spiral of strategy. You're either spiraling one direction or you're choosing to spiral another. I already told you my experience with this. The seasonal cash flow juggle, the credit cards bridging one to the next, the moving money between accounts to create some illusion of abundance because it was always where it needed to be at the time that it needed to be there. But it was only ever in reactivity, in response to urgency, in getting the one bill that was due paid when it was due. And you've heard of the expression surviving by the skin of your teeth. It felt exciting. It felt like I was in flow. But that was when the turning point happened for me of realizing that true stability is not built in urgency. It's built with foresight and rhythm, not looking back and covering my tracks as I went. I want you to know that you don't need to be in constant hustle. What you need is a plan that matches your pace, and that is possible. Sign 3 is that your money decisions feel random or like they're ruled by emotion. Okay, so this pattern looks like pricing, spending, saving, anything having to do with the movement of your money. It all feels like guesswork and totally dependent on how you're feeling in the moment. Some days you might undercharge out of guilt, and some days you might overspend to feel free. Does this sound familiar? The truth of this one is that when your choices aren't anchored to the clarity of a bigger picture, every decision actually drains your energy. This is where maturity enters and Saturn's moment of enough that often happens for most during their Saturn return. The reframe that I want to offer here is where Mercury meets Saturn. These two wisdoms together in that it's time to think long term. Mercury is all about our perceptions, our mind, our ability to wrap our mind around what's happening. Saturn is about that long term, long game. When they come together, they make it possible, and by they, I mean these aspects of you, to build a relationship with money that is based on purpose and not reaction, and is anchored to the single pointed focus of a clear intention that is going to take you the distance to the future goals that you have for your path with money. I'm going to be honest, readiness in the way that we're talking about it here often looks like exhaustion. I'm just like sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same old shit and the same cycles. When you get to a point of being tired of your own patterns, that's your inner Saturn saying, the test is over, my child. It's time to build. I remember during my Saturn return when this started to shift for me, it's such an interesting combination of things happening inside of you simultaneously. What's shifting almost surprises you at the time that it first does when that rite of passage starts to call you. It's like the stuff that used to be satisfying isn't satisfying anymore. I remember being in the midst of what would have otherwise been like peak experiences and just been like, dude, I'm bored of this. I'm ready for the more boring stuff, like really truly craving deeply to build something longer lasting. And the more in the moment thrills just stopped doing it for me. So it was a combination of having these new motivations come through but also having to come to terms with it of like, really? Like that doesn't even make sense or fit, but like, yes, deep in my bones, I can feel that that's what it's time for. Of course, eventually you realize as you say yes to and answer that call that path of maturity is not a losing of your magic. It's actually learning how to sustain it. And you get to a point in your life where that is what is really satisfying. If any of these first three signs have hit home for you, the avoidance, the reactivity, the emotional decision fatigue around your money stuff, you're not just noticing your patterns. In all likelihood, you are hearing the call to reset. If you've been on the all too common feast or famine roller coaster that entrepreneurs start out on before making the conscious and deliberate shift to design things differently, where you have a constant cycle of stress and scramble, or as one client put it, of living it up and then suffering, it's costing you more than just money. It's costing you your creativity. It's costing you your calm. Your nervous system is just fried, always wondering if you're going to be able to make it work or if you're even cut out to be a business owner. It's costing you ultimately your capacity to actually enjoy what you're building. And that sucks. But think about how long you've been stuck in this cycle. And then imagine if in just 5 days, you could stabilize your foundation emotionally, energetically, and practically. If you feel equal parts skeptical that such a thing could happen in 5 days, but also just as curious and intrigued and super down to participate and lean into those 5 days, if you knew that that's where you would land on the other side, I want to invite you into something that I've created called the Cosmic Money Reset. It is a 5-day challenge that is designed to support you with this exactly. 5 days, 5 planets, 5 shifts to move from money chaos to money clarity. In day 1, you'll face what's real. In day 2, you'll take grounded action. In day 3, you'll clarify your intention. Day 4, you'll map your vision. And day 5, you'll rebrand and rebuild your relationship to money. The challenge is completely free. It is the first of what I know is going to make such a big difference for people stuck in exactly the cycle that I've been describing. It's free. It's happening October 20th to 24th, and it is the perfect next step if you're ready to reset what money means to you and start to show up differently for it so you can have a different relationship with it. The link to register is cosmicb.link/challenge. You can also find it in the show notes, and I hope to see you inside. That brings us to sign 4. You're stuck at just enough and can't see beyond survival. The pattern of this one looks like making enough to just get by, but never enough to grow or fund anything else besides the bills right in front of you. The vision pretty much ends at bills paid, but never spills over into actually building toward and growing toward a future that supports what you envision for yourself, not just the bare minimum that you've been able to afford. We're looking to Jupiter for this one. Jupiter energy thrives on purpose that's made possible through a connection with the bigger picture. Without a dream for money to move toward, it loses steam, it loses motivation, and it's no wonder you've been stuck in the same place treading water. The reframe I want to offer you is that expanding your vision, first of all, isn't about greed. It's about guidance, it's about intention, and it's about aligning with the principle of growth that motivates us to reach higher and bigger. It is a beautiful thing to give your money a mission beyond survival. I can tell you for myself how much it has changed the game for me to have specific bigger dreams and goals that, first of all, are bigger than just me, but are so clear both in how I'm able to envision and feel into them to bring that timeline to me, but also just as clear specifically around the dollar amounts that I need to be able to bring in and profit to make them possible. My big dreams I've shared in stories, in various free trainings and episodes. What I have on my radar right now is to be able to move out of state. We're planning a big move soon and allocating funds to that cause. Another biggie is being able to liberate my husband from needing to make a certain amount through his job so that he can feel free to explore and find what really lights him up. I'm blessed to do work that lights me up, and I want to be able to support him through that work to be able to find and do the same. Another one is monthly massages. That is a big part of my next up upgrades that I am very tangibly aiming toward. Let me tell you, when you have goalposts that are that specific, that motivate you in the way that these do me, because they're so deeply specific and rooted in my desires, not comparing myself to other people or any other such thing, right? These are things I truly want. These are my metrics for success and my goalposts for where I'm aiming next. Making money matters so much more. There's so much more meaning in the game of running a business when you know that you are working toward making those kinds of things possible, whatever those are for you. Money grows in the direction of your attention. So give it something worth flowing toward and keep your eye on the prize. The fifth sign of that it's time to reset your relationship with money is that money feels like chaos instead of relationship. The pattern, it feels unpredictable, unreliable, which super stresses you out, and something that happens to you instead of with you or for you. For this one, we look to Venus energy to learn the wisdom of that money is a relationship just like any other relationship that mirrors how you tend it. The same way that a love relationship deepens with presence, with care, with regular attention and leaning in, regular date nights, money too steadies with regular care and attention. The reframe that I want to offer around this is that we're not talking about control, just like that wouldn't work in any relationship. We're talking about connection and the power of consistently leaning in and connecting. In this way, money can be sacred and structured and sensual all at once, just like the best relationship. I can tell you for me, for sure, it was like night and day, the kinds of situationships I was in before meeting my husband. And it really feels like the threshold that I'm talking about here with money, the difference between not being able to rely on it because it couldn't really rely on you, to truly committing and building the kind of relationship that is supportive, that you can rely on, and that you know is there to grow with you and not sabotage you. There are really simple ways that you can make your relationship with money, honor it for the relationship that it is. The biggest one is just to have some kind of regular practice or ritual or check-in. Literally anything will do as long as you're consistent and regular. That's how you start to build the trust in yourself that you can be trusted with money. Again, just like any relationship, your relationship with money creates reliability, and what you tends to you. To recap, the signs that you are likely ready for a money reset, to reset the foundation of your relationship with money so that more is possible with it, so that you can get more out of it, and so that you can feel genuine in wanting to give more of yourself for it, is sign one, you avoid looking at your bank accounts because you can't redirect what you won't acknowledge, and honesty around where you really are with money will bring the calm that you're seeking so much faster than avoidance to keep you from the alternative ever will. Sign two, you keep taking reactive action instead of strategic action. You don't need constant hustle. What you need is a plan that matches your pace so it feels aligned. Sign three, your money decisions feel random or like they're ruled by emotion. Maturity does not rob you of your magic. It is learning how to sustain it. What might seem like boring is actually the holy grail of your second Saturn cycle if you choose to embrace it. Sign 4, you're stuck at just enough and can't see beyond survival. Money grows in the direction of your awareness, so give it something worth flowing toward. And sign 5, money feels like chaos instead of relationship. When the truth is, relationship creates reliability. Secure attachment is what you really want with your money. And when you have that kind of a relationship with money, what you tends you back. When I talk about signs of readiness, I'm not talking about perfection or the block of that the moment needs to be right. I'm talking about knowing that it's time to lean in and to participate in the shifting of your money story from the ground up. It's saying and deciding, I'm done surviving my money story and I'm ready to rewrite it as the author and the main character. If this spoke to you, if you feel ready to reset your relationship with money, please register to join the upcoming free challenge. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to cosmicb.link/challenge to join us October 20th through 24th to finally shift from the pattern you've been in of feast or famine as an entrepreneur and set the kind of solid foundation that makes financial security possible and sustainable for you and your business journey. I hope to see you in there.